Yes, Tales from the Jails. John G. Sutton. That's me, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, today I want to talk a little bit about the drinking culture at prisons. Specifically, let's start with Wormwood Scrubs. I was at Wormwood Scrubs from May, I believe it was, 1975, and I used to go drinking there. Now, at the clubs and at the bars around London, of course, yeah, me and my mate Paul, he was at the training school with me at Ley Hill, yeah, which is an open prison near Bristol. But next to it, they have a training school, or they used to have, for prison officers. And Paul was there. And that's where I met Paul. He was an ex-policeman from Leeds. He'd been a police constable in Leeds, decided he didn't like all the shifts, and decided to join the prison service. He'd been around a bit, Paul. He'd also served for a period of time as a nursing officer at Broadmoor. So Paul knew what it was all about, and he liked drinking. So I was at the Scrubs, and I lived in a lodgings. It wasn't a rented house, it wasn't anything, it was lodgings, because I was waiting to move my wife up into prison quarters. Prison quarters are houses or flats or apartments that are provided by the Home Office to serving prison officers who were working in London or around the country. They used to have them at different establishments. They don't have them now. You just get paid a wage. But back then you used to get an apartment or a house or whatever. And pending this allocation, which was a little bit difficult, and you've no doubt heard that story. But anyway, I lived in a place called Carlisle Avenue in the front room, and the landlady, or the woman who owned the house, was about 75, 77, something like that. Her brother was older than that. He was about 80, 82. He'd been a driver of trains on the London Underground, and he'd done that for like 40 years. Very nice, genteel people. And I lived in the front, I stayed in the front bedroom because I was mainly working all the time, of course, except when I went out with Paul. So one night we were out in Shepherd's Bush, yeah, in London, and we're in this pub, just having a few Guinness, and they started singing these Irish songs, Danny Boy, and If You Ever Go Across the Sea to Ireland, and all that stuff. And then they come round with a hat, and they were collecting money for the IRA, believe it or not. So me and Paul put some coins in, that's all we had, a bit loose change. They seemed happy with that. Little did they know that we were locking the buggers up in the Scrubs. Seriously, yeah. So we had a few of that, and then a few more, and then a few more, and then we went for a Chinese meal in this Chinese restaurant thing, which is where they serve Chinese meals. And we were sat there quietly, we had about 4 or 5 or 6 pints, nothing outlandish. And seriously, this is God's honest truth, yeah. Through the door came this bloke and this woman, knives in their hand, and they grabbed hold of one of the waiters, got the knife, put the knife at the side of him, started shouting, "You bring us the money, bring us your taking, so we're getting a knife, So I said to Paul, I'll tell you what. I said, Paul, you take the lady. I said, and I'll get the bloke. I said, at the count of 3. Seriously. Yeah, seriously. I was mad in them days. Yeah, maybe I'm still mad now. Yeah, according to my reviews, I'm still mad. But anyway, so I just said, are you ready, Paul? He said, yeah, do it. 1, 2, 3, got up. I hit this bloke, boosh, straight at the side of the head. The knife went flying. I grabbed hold of him, picked him up physically off the floor, and propelled him through the open door. So he flew out the open door, smash on the pavement, face down. 2 seconds later, whew, behind him came this woman. Paul had picked her up and flown her through the air, splat on the floor next to him. They were out on the floor. Me and Paul stood at the door, pissing ourselves laughing. Shut the door, picked the knives up, and gave them to the waiter, who was trembling and shaking like buggery. Me and Paul went and sat down and continued eating our meal and drinking a bit, just as if nothing had happened. All restaurants stood up, way cheering and clapping, you know. Man, ain't nothing about it, you know. I mean, they come in looking for trouble when I'm having my dinner, you know. Well, get my hands on them, which we did. Anyway, we're eating the meal, and the manager came out. Oh, thank you, thank you. You saved my restaurant, saved my restaurant. I pay you. You look after my restaurant. I said, hey, this is John and Paul here. Said, we ain't the Cray twins. We're not going around doing protection rackets in London. Yeah. As for the people we threw out onto the floor, I don't know what happened to them. I never bothered looking, really. I mean, if they'd come back in, they wouldn't have dared to come back in. It was a done deal in 2 or 3 seconds. Bang, bang. Flew out the door. Those are the days. Anyway, drinking culture. We used to go in the club. And the problem that I had with drinking in the club was that Paul used to drink more than he was capable of dealing with. You know, he could still stand up, he could walk, but he couldn't talk. And his wife was in Liverpool, and he used to ring her up around about 10 o'clock at night. He could dial the number, but he couldn't speak. So he used to dial the number and give the phone to me. And I'd say, yeah, it's John here. Paul's with me. He just can't speak at the moment because he's just had a beer, and his wife would say to me, that drunken bastard, I've told him I'm not speaking to him. If he's doing that again, going out on the piss every night, you can tell him from me to go and piss off. And Paul's saying, I said, she says she loves you, Paul. Seriously, I met his wife when she finally managed to move up and see us, you know, and she was a really nice lady. She said, you're the guy who's been ringing me up, telling me Paul can't speak. I said, well, it's just the way he is, you know. She says, I know that. She says he frequently does it, you know, drinks beyond his capacity. Yeah, anyway, when I finally got allocated a quarter, me and Paul went up. We started at the club, you know, because it was near to the jail. Lashed about 4 or 5 pints down, cheap stuff. Then uptown, top ranking, getting a load down around Shepherd's Bush and all that area, which was the pubs were good in them days. They all had acts on, you know, people playing guitars and singing, and it was real fun. And the people in London, they did join in. They had a good time. Anyway, I was celebrating this, getting this apartment, and I was really, you know, happy because my wife could come up then. We'd been separated for nearly 6 months. So I finally gets into a taxi to get back. Paul collapsed on the floor, sick. The taxi driver went absolutely spare. I had to clean all that up. Yeah. Dropped him off at his place. Then I had to get back to mine. Yeah. So I get back to my place at Carlisle Avenue. I was 3 sheets to the wind, to be honest. Anyway, I remember getting into bed and waking up, I don't know, maybe half an hour later or an hour later, and I desperately needed to piss. Except from me getting into bed, yeah, and closing my eyes to waking up, somebody had relocated the door. So I couldn't find the door. And I'm feeling around, I can remember feeling around the walls, trying to find the door. Eventually, I found the door, ran out into the corridor, heading for the toilets, turned left. I got my dick in me, I had nothing else on. Into the wrong room. It was the landlady. She said, I woke her up. She said, wrong room, John, wrong room. Oh, I ran down the corridor, turned right, wrong room again, except it was too late. I thought this door that was in the room was the toilet. I got in there, and it wasn't the toilet. It was the wardrobe. And that's when I woke up, about 5 o'clock in the morning. The old guy in bed, 82 years old or something like that. Never said a word, except I was smashed out in the wardrobe, his wardrobe. His suits all over the place, and I'd pissed everything. It was terrible. They threw me out, you know. Told me to get out. Nowhere to go. Yeah, seriously. That's what happens when you go drinking in London on your own. Anyway, for all you people who have been watching these tales from the jails, you've seen the complaints. People are actually saying, you know, they're not happy with my sing-along style. But today I'm going to do you a song from a guy called Max Bygraves. Now, me and Max Bygraves go back over 50 years, you know. Because when I was about 15, I've always been writing stuff, writing poems and songs. And I wrote some material and I sent it to Max Bygraves by post, you know, by his record company. I think he was on Decca, you know. And months and months went by. I'd forgotten all about this. And then I came home one day from work. I was only about 15. Yeah, I used to work in the stock room at Woolworths, believe it or not. And I came home from work one day and my mother said, "Who have you been writing to?" I said, "I haven't been writing to anybody. You know, I'd forgotten all about sending that letter to Max Bygraves." She said, "Yes, you have. I've got a letter here." She said, "I'm going to read it to you." She said, "Yeah, I can remember it. It said something like, Dear John, I have received your submissions and I think that you are seriously disturbed. I feel that you may have psychological problems and should seek help immediately. Yours, Max Bygraves." Seriously, sent me that letter. My mother said, "That is a disgrace. You're bringing shame upon us. What have you sent him?" I said, "I only sent him some of my poems." So my dad came home, and he was a police sergeant at the time, and he said to me, "Right," he said, "what did you send him? Tell me now immediately." I said, "I only sent him some silly poems." He said, "What are they?" So I'd written one, and it went something like this. I can't, it's from memory, you know. Crash, bash, thump on a hunchback's hump. Morning, noon, and night, bump, bump. I've cleared but now they've sent me to the jail, but I'll clear the wall in a mighty jump, and I'll get back to my hunchback's hump. Morning, noon, and night, bump, bump. My dad read the letter. He said, "I agree with him. You are seriously disturbed." And he ripped it up and burnt it. It would have been worth money now. Seriously. And that, folks, is the name of my first album, Seriously Disturbed. It's on Amazon. You can have a look. It's got about 16 songs on there. One of them's called Who's Banging My Wife? There's another one called The Farting Werewolf. Nympho Number 3. Eh? All innocent little songs. But the name of my album is called Seriously Disturbed. And in memory of Max Bygraves, I'm going to do one of his songs that I used to sing when I was a young boy living in Prestwich. And it's called Tulips from Amsterdam. So I hope you're all sitting comfortably, are you? Good. Then I shall begin. When it's spring again, I'll bring again tulips from Amsterdam. With a heart that's true, I'll give to you tulips from Amsterdam. I can't wait until the day you fill these eager arms of mine, like the windmill keeps on turning. That's how my heart keeps on yearning for the day I know we can share those tulips from Amsterdam. When it's spring again, I'll bring again tulips from Amsterdam. With a heart that's true, I'll give to you tulips from Amsterdam. I can't wait until the day you fill These eager arms of mine, like the windmill, keeps on turning. That's how my heart keeps on yearning for the day I know we can share those tulips from Amsterdam. Now, what's wrong with that, you miserable lot? You sit up and enjoy it. Tales from the Jails. Like, yeah, press the button. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. More to come.